the percentage of men that will apply for a job versus women based on the quality. Women have to have 90% of the qualities to even apply for a job, where men only need to have like 50 before they feel like, sure, I'll apply for that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You Interview series. It's Gary here again. Thank you very, very much, as always, for taking the time to join me today. And today I'm delighted to be joined by founder and CEO of Marketex, Kathrine Farris, who is here to discuss turning interest and passion into a profitable and value-add business. Marketex is an all-in-one sales and marketing system that organises, automates and scales businesses. And for over 15 years, Kathrine has helped consultants, coaches, professional services firms and small teams organise marketing projects, streamline sales processes and make technology work for them. It's something kind of near and dear to my heart because I don't have a great relationship with technology, I have to say. Kathrine's clients stay with Marketex, many for a decade or more, because they're consistent, they're dependable and relentless about solving problems. The Marketex engine is a comprehensive system that gives clients the structure, automation and visibility without the big business overhead. Now, here is the key differentiator. The technology support is paired with their consultation and implementation support and helps clients move forward with less friction. And I know that from personal experience, because how Kathrine and I met was Kathrine and Marketex were referred to me by my coach, and she said, you might want to have a conversation. The things that you're struggling with, I was struggling with, and Kathrine is a person who can help you out. And Kathrine and I had, what was that now? It was supposed to be like a 30-minute conversation, which ended up spilling into almost 90 minutes, where we both shared war stories. And Kathrine said, think about this. What about this? Think about that. Have you done that? And I'm sitting there saying, yeah, I haven't done any of that. No, I haven't even thought about that. I hadn't even thought that was a thing that I could do. And it was really an inspiration, literally the inspiration to have Kathrine on the podcast here, to kind of really genuinely talk about problem solving, about adding value where others aren't, about being those key differentiators like I mentioned earlier. So I already know that this is going to be a very, very, very wonderful and educational and informative conversation, and I am absolutely looking forward to having said conversation. Kathrine, thank you very, very much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, what an intro. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted to have you along. So as I like to do to get things going is to get a wee bit of an understanding of the history. You know, what was the build up, the lead up, the experience, the exposure, the inspiration behind, I think industry needs a business that looks like this, and how does that marry itself in with your personal life? How did it all come around?
Pretty organically, actually. And, you know, there's definitely a backstory here. So to try to summarize it as easy as possible, I was actually in banking. I was in finance. I was a branch manager, lender, all this stuff. I worked with a lot of small businesses. I always had an aptitude for technology. My previous instructors or whatever reached out to me and had me come in, and actually I taught classes for 4 years at the college level, computer classes. Yeah. And so these things started to blend and merge, and you know, I've just always been kind of a tech geek. I more on the software side. Like, I can't build a computer. I'm not that kind of a nerd. But our IT department at the bank used to reach out to me for Excel questions and things like that, of that nature. And so then clients started hearing this, like banking clients started hearing this. And I remember, I think the light bulb moment was when one of my small business clients at the bank actually brought their laptop in. You put it on my desk and they were like, hey, you're good with computers. What do I do with this? And it was MailChimp.
All right.
And it was my first introduction to anything like that, you know, kind of, I mean, I knew about marketing. Like, you do sales and marketing when you're in the front of the house in banking. Like, it's not completely foreign concepts by any means. I used to put on events, all of that type of stuff. I was, part of different networking and social events. But this was tech marketing, and this was different. So now I was like, whoa, this is blending two things that I am very good at. right? I was like,
Yeah.
this is curious. This is the blend of creativity and technology that I couldn't ignore it. A couple clicks here, a couple clicks there. We sent a newsletter and I was hooked. So from there, I sort of started moonlighting, printed out my own business cards at home, got the paper from Staples, whatever, started showing up to networking events. And the response was really what sort of did it for me. When you show up at a networking event with a banking business card, nobody wants to talk to you. It's just as bad as insurance, right?
Yeah.
But when I showed up with like this digital marketing, and this was 2009, so this was kind of out of the box thinking a little bit more. People weren't quite sure what I was doing, so people were more curious. Now marketing might be a little bit harder than it was back then. But when I showed up with this business card, like done for you digital marketing, people were like, well, what is that? What does that mean? And this was when social media was this big confusing thing for a lot of small businesses. So that was the first thing that their mind went to is my website, my social media. Today it would be AI, but it was, a little bit different conversation back then. So that's why I like to say it sort of like organically evolved as I got clients. They requested services. I figured it out. It was kind of just went like that.
That I love the organic part of that, the ability to be able to, if you look at any history of founders and some of the greatest founders on earth had a very similar journey where they see an opportunity or they've experienced a certain level of pain or discomfort or exposure to something where they say, this is a thing. Now, let me just do a wee bit more research. Is it actually a thing? Yes, it is a thing. Now, do I have the skills or wherewithal or resources to be able to satisfy that thing? If not, can I get it? And then moving forward from there. But from a personal perspective, I would imagine that it becomes more, what would the word be? More prevalent or more impactful for you to be able to say, I have actually seen this happen in real time. The laptop story, the MailChimp, the newsletter, then going and seeing the types and styles of people that are interested in that sort of thing. And then the ability to be able to say, this is more simple than you think it is. This is my words, not your words, of course. But this is not as difficult as you can make it out. So that organic, then it becomes obvious. As to something you can't unsee this. Kathrine can't unsee it anymore. So you're now in a situation where you're like, I have to do something about that. So then you take it. You're moonlighting. You're still in banking. And you then get to a situation, what was the pivotal moment that gave you that opportunity to say, this is for me for right now?
Yeah, well, it took a lot for me. Being of a banking nature, gambling is not part of how my brain thinks, right? Which might be a little different than a lot of business owners. Like go big or go home was not really in my vocabulary. So I actually hired a team long before I left the bank. I started hiring people to do different roles, and I was still doing this in the evenings, also still teaching, also still doing a lot of things. Yeah. Then I got pregnant. And so I started pulling back on all the things that I could. I gave up teaching. I sort of started shifting my priorities, as I think we all do, or any of us that have a family do.
Yeah.
And then I had my son, and I had this very naive notion that during my maternity leave, I was going to do so much work and grow my business. And anyone who's ever had a maternity leave knows how ridiculous that idea was, that notion. So I did my best. I multitasked like any mother probably does. And then I went back to work, and I went back to banking. I had grown my business a little bit during my maternity leave, which put more pressure on me. I now had an infant, nursing, all the stuff. I was miserable. I was 100% miserable. And it was really this was the pivotal time where I was like, something's got to change. Like, this isn't working. It's not working for me. It's not working for my husband. It's not working for my brand new baby. Yeah. Thankfully, I had an amazing boss at the time. Now, and I should say too, my husband was a stay-at-home parent. So mine was the only income.
Right.
Mine was the benefits. Mine was everything for us. So the idea of leaving my 9 to 5 job was not as simple as it might be for some. But I had this amazing boss that she was also the primary income provider for her family. She had 3 boys and a husband who was a stay-at-home parent. And so when I went into her office, holding back the tears because I told myself I was not going to cry, which was also ridiculous, she was like, I get it. And she did everything she could to help me. And I miraculously managed to transition out of my full-time job into a part-time job that I had no idea what I was doing, and then worked myself out of that through automation. Quite honestly, I automated the back office mortgage department of the bank that I'd worked in, even though I'd never worked in that department before. And over 3 more months, basically backed myself out of a job and was then pregnant with my second son. So that's the long story short of it. We had just a very real conversation at home of like, hey, banking is not going anywhere. This is really my opportunity to try this business thing full time. We were just about at the point where we could pay our bills with it. We'd have to use credit cards for a couple of months. Like I was bootstrapping, right? And we decided it was worth it. We were on the same page about all that. So I did it. Within 3 months, I doubled my income from my business. Within 3 more months, I doubled it from there. So we were no longer needing the credit cards.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. That's amazing. One of the key things for me is, you're taking, you mentioned earlier, I'm very good at this. So knowing that and just having an inherent understanding of what's going to make a successful business, layering in all of the personal things that are going on, and then of course the fiscal practicalities of what if this doesn't work? It sounds like you eased into it enough to say, with a wee bit more care and attention and focus, there's a good possibility this is going to go ahead. Now, one of the key things for me is women in tech is there's still a massive disparity between the male and the female population that are involved in tech, and I know that for a fact because my love teaches at a local college here in Calgary, and she's in a technical environment teaching a bunch of technical things, and it's there's probably stats out there, so please don't quote me on this, but it's kind of like 90+% male to female. What's been your experience in the types and styles of services that you provide, of being a female providing these types and styles of services? Have you experienced any resistance? Have you had any roadblocks put in your way? Has it been smoother sailing? Like, what's that been like for you?
Yeah. What's funny is I don't remember where I heard this stat, so I feel like I'll have to go look this up after. But I remember hearing a stat one time that there are more men named Steve in tech than there are women.
Whoa.
Isn't that awesome? And I can imagine that they all wear blue button-ups too, and khakis. So that's what I imagine. So as far as, being in tech, I feel like I was kind of thinking about this ahead of time too around this question, because I don't really like to acknowledge it in some ways. I know it's there, but it's like, I feel like if I acknowledge it a lot, then it's like it makes it more of a thing in my life than I want it to be.
Yeah.
I think women in business in general have an interesting, like, I can't tell you how many times, not even talking tech related, just talking about like, oh yeah, I own a business. They're like, oh, assuming it's an MLM. Wow. It's Tupperware.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm like, no, I have 5 employees. They're like, oh, like a real business.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That almost gets me more than the tech conversation sometimes, I will say. But I do think that there is a bit of a, when I come to the table, I think I'm not taken as seriously sometimes as men for the business acumen as well as the tech acumen, right? Like, I think both of those can come into play. And maybe they even layer on top of each other a little bit when you start getting into that conversation. And I think that men tend to come along a little more confident. And that might even be part of it. It might just be a pure male-female nature type of thing. I think it was Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg talked about this. Like, the first half of that book is so full of statistics that I love. about, and again, I'm going to probably misquote this, but something around the idea that like the percentage of men that will apply for a job versus women based on the qualities, like women have to have 90% of the qualities to even apply for a job, where men only need to have like 50 before they feel like, sure, I'll apply for that. And so part of it might not even be the other people we're talking to. It might literally be just the male-female nature in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, and it's so interesting. I teach a class at the University of Calgary here, and it's around career planning, personal career strategies and such. And I used that quote, and I think it was like 30%, not even 50. Yeah,
okay.
something like that. And in the class, there's a decent mix, but there's probably still about maybe 60% male to female. So I'm making a point of talking to the women in the room, and this is an undergraduate class, to say, this is a stat, and I'm going to tell you the stat, and I want this to be the last time this ever becomes a thing in your life. If you see something and it's part of your strategy or part of your desire or part of your want or part of your need or part of your path or growth, go for it. The worst that's going to happen is nothing. Nothing will happen. You'll never hear anything, and then that's the thing. But you just never know. The more that you shoot for the stars, the more that you've got an opportunity to reach the stars and do that. And I don't get a lot of feedback per se of, I did it and it really worked out that way. But it's one of these pieces of micro information which hopefully blended in with other micro information and experience that they have, and hopefully the voice resonating in their head, that it all compounds into something to say, I'm going to not do what my innate nature was kind of telling me to do, possibly even my peer group was suggesting that I do. I'm just going to go and be bold and do these things. So how do you take those experiences that you've had thus far, and how is that shaped? What sort of coping mechanisms did you put into place, or strategies to give yourself that opportunity to say, this is a level playing field, and we are peers? How did that go for you?
I mean, a big part of it is actually being able to speak on this stuff and actually, educating myself and not showing up trying to just fake it till I make it. And I think that is a difference. I do think that sometimes some people, some personalities can get away with that a lot more, certainly, than I can. I am not a fake it till you make it type of person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I also think it is individual personality in some ways. I think that when I do know something and I show up knowing something, I think within a few sentences, people don't usually question me. I think I have kind of one of those personalities. And long before I ever heard that quote about applying for a job, I'll tell you a little story. I feel like I've had to almost do the reverse of what a lot of women have had to do in their careers. I've had to sort of soften, if you will. Right. So back in my 20s, I was in finance, and there were two positions available. One of them I was qualified for, and one of them I was not. And so I showed up to the interview, and they're like, okay, what position are you here for? And I said, well, I'm applying for position 2, but you're going to hire me for position 1 and train me for position 2, or I will probably leave.
There you go.
And I got the job, and they trained me for position 2. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So in that sense, again, I think some of it's individual personality.
Yeah. Yeah. and of course, opportunity as well, that might have backfired, or it might have been
absolutely wrong person, wrong time. They could have said, no way, we don't like you.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's absolutely something to be said for being so definitive about, bullish even, here's how this is going to play out, and I'm going to give you my angle, and some other people, they don't have to sit at the other side of the table and second guess what's going to happen or suppose or have any sort of creative innuendo about what they think might happen. You've said, this is the script, and if we follow this script, this is what will happen. If we don't follow this script, then this is what will happen, and moving on from there. So it creates a level of awareness that you're moving forward with. So one of the things that I was and I gained personal benefit from was when we chatted before, Kathrine, was the consulting services. There's a lot of organizations out there. You can go to a number of countries and hire someone for, pennies, it feels like, like minimal dollars to produce your website, maintain or sustain your social media presence, do whatever that looks like. And the one difference, and I've looked at a bunch of those things, and my ability or my desire to buy back my time so that I can work on things that are actually genuine value add needle movers for me. Not that this other work is not important at all. I don't mean that. It's equally as important, or certainly an enabler for me to be able to do that. But the one thing that got it for me was we were chatting, and it was a genuine strategy session where, tell me a bit more about that. Have you considered that? Do you know that these systems can do this? And you were feeding that information without me even knowing about it. And then when we got to the part where we were talking about doing business together, you said, you don't get this elsewhere. And I hadn't realized in the moment at that particular point that that's exactly what we were doing. And I thought, wow, that is the key. The ability to be able to tap in to your team and say, is this a thing? Should I concentrate on this? What are other people doing? Is this still working? If not, why not? Based on what you know right now, what should we do? How did that, was that always part of the service offering, or did that become more of a supplying a demand that was created from your clients?
I probably a little bit of both, actually. As I gain knowledge on things, I'm just the type of person that's probably never going to be able to keep my mouth shut and hold it back. So that is, when I learn something new, I feel like it almost always comes out in my next conversation somehow. Like it's just what it is, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel like that is what clients want from us when they do hire us. Because yes, you could offshore to somebody who's very inexpensive. But when people hire us, I do feel like they're expecting a different level of support, a different level of service. And I think I'm happy to give that. I think that is where we specialize. That's where we niche. I think I don't think I could do it any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes it away from, and this is my words, not your words, but it takes it away from being transactional to being more of a,
it's a relationship.
Relationship, yeah, a cooperation. That was the word that I had in my head. But absolutely, that relationship, because if you are transacting and there's a mistake or there's an error or there's something that just needs to be corrected, if it's not part of the transaction, are you ever going to find out about that? Whereas in the relationship, you would expect the other party or person to be able to say, by the way, that this doesn't come across well, that this language isn't really appropriate for this, that the lighting or the background or the delivery mode or the verbiage you're using is not what's going to resonate with the target audience and such.
Yeah, there's a lot of that happens, between clients. And I think you kind of alluded at the beginning of the session when you were giving my bio and stuff about us having clients for over 10 years. Yeah. I mean, when you think about the longevity of that, over a decade of working with a client and not just getting to know the client, but actually getting to know their clients, getting to know their needs even further. Because a lot of our clients have had clients for that long. I mean, and it is amazing when I think of the levels that go into that at that point. I was on a call this morning. It's a monthly marketing strategy session that I do with one of my clients that it's been with us since 2013, actually. And we do this every month. It's her personal assistant, me and her, that we meet every month. And I was telling her about, hey, last week I had a networking call with an operations officer that I think would be great for your next panel discussion. Do you want me to send you that connection? And that's the type of stuff that kind of goes above and beyond the transaction.
Yes.
But again, that's where it's like that's what I wanted. That's what I always wanted, was that relationship building. I mean, even back in my banking days, it was about small business building.
Yeah.
It was about all of that. That's what it's always been about for me.
Yeah. So connection. Genuine connection with what you're doing. Could you ever see yourself getting to a spot where it becomes transactional? Or is that just not in the makeup of Kathrine or Marketex?
For me personally, it's not in the makeup of it. Now, do we have, I do have a team, 5 people, and there are people on my team that carry out transactional work. Absolutely. Yeah. But even my team members, one of my team members has been with us going on 8 years now, and she's gone beyond that. if you're working with her, she's going to give you her 2 cents, and she's going to chime in with, hey, I know you asked me to do this, but I was thinking you might also want X, Y, and Z. Or if I come at it from this different angle, or by the way, did you know High Level has this added feature that would mean we don't have to do this every month? Like, she thinks beyond and outside the box. And that's really where I want everybody to get to, is that you're not an order taker. You're the expert.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason that people are coming through our doors, back to what you were saying earlier. And that part of that reason is that value add, is that somewhat anecdotal or situational ability to say, permission to speak. I'm going to speak, and I'm going to tell you some things. So one of the big things, of course, in tech right now, absolutely across the world, is AI. And, I was literally talking to the class yesterday about AI and saying the feelings that I have about AI is very similar to not what I have about AI. The feelings I have in terms of the concept of AI is very similar to the feelings that I had when the internet was first created, the World Wide Web, as we called it at the beginning, and people were trying to explain what it is, and other people were like, I don't get it. It's the radio and the newspapers and and the flyers that come through. I am sorry, I don't understand. And then there's the tech boom, and there's a whole bunch of things that happen, and then eventually things settle in, and it becomes the life that we're leading. And I was explaining to them, I was actually explaining to my son on the weekend as well, to say, we, the people that are existing right now, are the generation of people that lived without it in its form, that its availability and accessibility now, and then lived with it. And in future generations, it's just going to be there. So they're going to say, what do you mean? So then you're going to sound like an old fogey when you're going to say, well, back in the day, we never had ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever your preference is. And it's such a fascinating concept, because I think there's different theories out there. Is it going to make us better? Is it going to make us worse as a human being, as an individual, as a race? And is it going to make us more reliant on technology? Is there a way of getting away from that? I'm not 100% sure. It probably depends and everything. But it's not going to end the world, probably. And it's hopefully going to give people a platform, people who genuinely want to use it for good, a platform to be able to do good at a scale or at a level of quality that they never did before. I'm really, really interested, Kathrine, in your philosophy or thought pattern or process around the AI, how, if anywhere, you can share that you've adopted it right now and what you see as being the future of AI as it relates to the digital marketing side of things.
Oh my gosh, this is such a can of worms. Okay, so as far as your analogy of it being like the internet, I have used that myself as well for multiple reasons. Yes, it is so much like when the internet came on the scene for me, when you think about it, because the internet was originally like a government project. They had it long before we did. Then it was, and it's evolved over time, right?
Yeah.
And the concept, like you said, people don't know what to do with it. We went from party telephone lines to cordless to cell phones. Like, you think about even the phone evolution. Yeah. So technology has always been evolving. Anybody that is basically alive right now has seen some form of technology evolution when you think about it. I think the cat's out of the bag. You're not putting it back in. AI's here to stay. Regardless of how you feel about it, it's not going anywhere at this point. I don't even know if it will fully be contained. So whether it will take over the world, I will make no speculation. I am currently very much in favor of it for marketing purposes, and we definitely use it in a variety of ways. I would say, if not daily, close to hourly. We are using it constantly.
Yeah.
And as far as like where it is, I think the stages of evolution on new stuff, it's like storming, norming, conforming kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So when it first came out, you had all these players, nobody knew what to do, all this stuff. I do feel like you're seeing the big players being identified at this point. I think most people could probably rattle off who they are, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, those types of things. Not surprising that those are going to be some of the big players. Maybe OpenAI. Maybe no one really saw that one coming. I'm not sure. I'm still wondering when Amazon's going to come out with theirs, because I'm not sure that I've seen the Amazon AI yet. But I feel like they're the big player that's missing for me right now, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But we are using it where we're using ChatGPT still. We're using Claude projects. We are inside of High Level. There's tons of AI features, and we use all of those as well. I actually did like a roadmap to AI in High Level video recently. So those are all the ways that I would use it, is sort of within the programs. I am not giving it full access to my computer. I've heard too many horror stories. That's just not what I'm ready for yet. It's mostly conversational chats, but it's smart conversations. And this is part of the difference. If you are just going into ChatGPT and having a conversation with it, the outcomes are going to be mediocre. Even Claude does a better job writing, but your outcomes are going to be mediocre.
Yeah.
The little changes you can make to improve the outcomes is to make projects. You make a project, you put context on the back end, a repeatable process on the back end. If you have an SOP for anything, you can turn it into a project, and you can probably have AI either make it faster or better. But then again, there's no guarantees. There's sometimes I have had plenty of clients go, AI was supposed to help me with this, and it made it take just as long, and I got 10 more pages I didn't need. And yes, that is still happening, right? Because we haven't quite got there yet. We're all still sort of figuring it out. Now, as far as whether AI is evil or not, I can actually say that I am probably feeding that machine, because I used AI to create my evil clone who gives bad marketing advice.
Yeah.
So that was my little kind of pet project, if you will, when I took a 3-day course basically on how to make an AI video clone of yourself.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I was like, okay, but how am I really going to use this? Because I don't really know if I want to put this out there as if it's me and have anybody think I'm tricking them. And I was like, oh, we're going to go satire. And it's going to be all the bad marketing ideas and bad marketing plays that I see. And so I put those out every week, little skits about any bad idea I've heard of.
I love it. And there's so many uses for it. I read something on LinkedIn, I think it was maybe actually just yesterday, very, very recently, and they said AI is like the excitable intern, that you have in the organization, who has a lot of knowledge based on their limited experience to that point. They have some education, but you're not going to holistically carte blanche trust absolutely everything that they say or everything that they produce or every idea that they suggest. And I thought that's brilliant, because then you start to kind of contextualize it a wee bit to say, right, okay, this is where you said you're not the authority on this. You're going to give yourself that opportunity to create some wherewithal or some awareness or some distance from the results, to be able to say, right, okay, I didn't realize that. And I read something recently, or maybe it was just a general theme in terms of it's going to make human beings less smart, less with less propensity to think. And I was actually just literally talking about this yesterday. I says, my experience of that is not the same, because I'm thinking more expansively now about the prompts that I'm putting in. I'm then thinking, when I see the results coming back, because invariably, almost every single time, probably every time, it'll come back with something that I hadn't considered, where I'm thinking, right, okay, so let's forget about those two things. Let's concentrate on this. And then it gives me an opportunity to really get deeper, gain more depth in my level of thinking, and then add that to my suite of thought patterns and processes. So it's not, completely subconsciously just giving away the keys to the kingdom and saying, help me think as a human being anymore. I'm really going in and thinking about what I want to be thinking about, and then being exposed to the fact that I know for a fact I'm going to have some sort of progressive thought pattern and process based on information that's provided me afterwards. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm in charge. I will decide what goes out and what does not go out, so I have that inherently. I'm curious, I'm excited, I'm excitable about it, but it's that excitable intern where I'm like, thank you for this. This has been very helpful to get me to this point. I'll take it from here, and then I'll move forward from there. Similar experience for you, Kathrine?
Oh, 100%. And I think the way you're using it is perfect. I think that that is what everybody should be doing, right? One of the things I've noticed and I've heard over and over again is from experts. If you are an expert in your industry and you ask AI a question about your industry, you are going to find out that it doesn't know everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen it with, I work with consultants, like, and one of my consultants is on a very specific technology. Like, he consults on a very specific program, and he says, to ChatGPT, tell me how to do XYZ in this program. It comes back with all these instructions. He goes, great, but those 3 queries don't exist.
Yeah.
And it comes back with, oh, you're right. Sorry about that. Let me fix that, But if he wasn't an expert in the industry, he wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So it really is helpful for experts that need to move faster. For people that think that they're going to gain all the knowledge of the world from AI, we're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned earlier there, and I'm really glad you did, because I literally got it from you, was the projects. And, creating a project. And I said, what's the difference? I have all these chats, and the chats are giving me what I need. And you said just exactly what you explained earlier. You can train it better, faster. The quality outputs are better because you're constantly feeding the instructions, then the ability to be able to get the results that you want in a more succinct and a more efficient fashion. And I came off the call that day, and I chatted to my son Leo that night, and I said, guess what I learned today? And he's a ChatGPT guy. That's what he uses, and I'm more of a Claude guy for the majority of the things that I do. And I said, have you heard of projects in AI? And I says, like, in Claude, he says, I don't know Claude. I says, have you heard of projects? He says, yeah, you can do projects in ChatGPT. And I says, right, explain the projects in ChatGPT. And he said, just what I said. He says, it's a container, it goes in there, it learns faster, it can provide you with, repeatable results that are a wee bit quicker. And I said, like, was it a secret? Like, when were you going to tell me this? And he says, when did you and I ever speak about AI? And I said, well, okay, that's a fair point. But he just inherently, and back to this generational thing, he just inherently knew that. So it was an opportunity for him. And we have this pro-social teasing relationship where if we have an opportunity to get someone, we get them. And he's like, man, you're literally the thickest dad I think that's on the planet right now. And I'm saying, I feel like it, But it was such a great lesson. So now we're at a spot where we're actually sharing tips and tricks, mostly driven from me, where I'm saying, I learned this today, or I got that, or I actually, what I will do in the project is say, I don't like that. Can you update? This is twice you've done this now. Can you update the instructions in this project to make sure that doesn't happen again? And it does it. I don't even need to do it. It does it based on, I've got you, Gary. Go ahead. And these time savings, it's almost Parkinson's law for me, Kathrine, because I'm still filling in. I don't have these oodles of time, but what I'm able to do in the time is exponentially of better quality, more comfort that I have, that I've exhausted as many avenues as I can with the time I have available to be able to provide a quality output. And it's a fun experience. As I mentioned earlier during your bio, like I'm not really a technology guy, never really been that into it that much, but this is fascinating. And it's an opportunity to gain expansive knowledge and thinking that I wouldn't normally have had I not been speaking to other educated human beings at the time, which is becoming a wee bit more difficult to do because everyone's busy. So it's fascinating. How do you believe it changes digital marketing? If there was one major thing that you said, I think this is the pinnacle moment that it's going to be the tipping point in digital marketing, is there anything coming to mind?
I mean, I think so far for mainstream, I would think the major impact that it's had has been on copywriting and image generation.
Right.
So, image generation used to take so much effort, sorting through stock photos, creating things in Canva, all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now you literally just tell it the idea that you have. And I will say, I know you're a Claude guy, and I do think Claude writes better. Prompts, ChatGPT does a better job on prompting.
Really?
So like if you need an image prompt, you tell it, I want to create an image like this. Build me a prompt for Nano Banana, which is my favorite image generator at the moment.
Same.
And so it will build you the Nano Banana prompt. I've literally pitted Claude and ChatGPT against each other. Right. ChatGPT wins 9 times out of 10 for prompting.
This is good to know, because I do use I do use Claude for that, and I'm happy with the results. But I would love to be delighted with the results.
Yep.
Beyond happy.
I get amazing results. I do have some clients that have problems with AI generated images, and I get it. I feel like it's kind of a personal preference, right? Or maybe a branding preference, a strategic preference. But I have other clients that absolutely love them. Like, oh my gosh, I never would have been able to put myself in that scene or create that visual, turning them into a cartoon and doing something fun with it. Like they love the flexibility that AI has brought to the images that we can use and the attention we can get from those. And then copywriting, can be another one that's a little bit touch and go, because you really do need to put the human spin on it at the end. You need to have that human in the loop. I never recommend just taking AI generated content and putting it out there. Always, always, always review it and make sure you've edited something about it. I don't care what, but go through and add a little more personality to it, even if Claude did write it and it looks amazing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if you're paying attention, you can tell. Not even through the verbiage. Sometimes they'll get the grammar wrong, or they'll speak in the they context rather than the I believe or something like that, or you should or something. But you can just, there's just that level of authenticity that I can feel it. Like in my undergraduate class, I because of AI, I had said we're still going to have 4 written assessments throughout this entire semester, but we're also going to do some video work. You're going to provide me a video based on, they watch one of my videos and then they say, this is why I selected it, this is what I learned, this is what I'm going to do about it. Because right now, unless they've invested in an AI clone, and no one has done that yet, it's a human being communicating with another human being saying, this is what I thought about it. And some of the journeys that they're going on has been fascinating as well. And I don't do that in any way thinking like to try and combat AI or get in the way. I'm just saying to them, I want to know what you think. I literally want to know what you think, and I want to know what you feel, and I want to know what you're going to do about that. And you just start to see, like through we do this on 10 different occasions, 10 different weeks of the 12-week semester, and the growth that I see, the genuine growth and comfort and like such rich information that they produce and provide is incredible. And then I get a wee bit sad at the end. I'm like, please find someone in your life that you could reciprocate this with. And send them this 90-second video each week to say, hey, listen, this is what I learned. This is what I'm going to do about it, and move forward, because the growth that you've experienced, your peer group is not doing that. And AI just won't give you that for right now. It just won't,
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's practical ways that I see people using AI too. I saw a really great use case from someone that actually has projects in whatever system they're using for their home, each one of their cars, separate projects where they feed it all the information. Like, you've got a home project. Well, that home project knows what type of heater you have, what type of fuel you have, when you last ordered it, all this stuff. And it can send you reminders and help you keep up to date. Oh, you need a new filter for whatever system. And, your fridge has not been cleaned in a while. I don't know, but like, I'm seeing really interesting things that people are doing with it, not just work-wise. And so that is always fascinating to me, because I do think about business and I think about work and what can I do to, progress my business faster and make my client work easier and all of that. And then I hear these things that to me just seem way out of the box. I'm like, you looked up how to change your oil and it already knew everything about your car? Huh.
Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? And that's actually brilliant. You mentioned changing the filter. I have the annual furnace cleaning or servicing, and then they leave me 4 filters, or actually they replace the filter and leave me 3 filters. And then when they come back again, the 3 filters are sitting where they are because I forgot, or I put a calendar reminder in and I see it and I'm like, oh, I should get to that. And then I just forget. Whereas that would be something material, because it's material to the operation of the equipment in and of itself as well. That's amazing. This is absolutely fascinating, Kathrine. So, as you know, this is called the Best You podcast. And what I like to do is take the opportunity to ask each guest, what's one regular practice that Kathrine employs to give you the best opportunity to be the best version of yourself each and every day?
Each and every day, I would say, as a busy mom with 2 teens, each and every day is probably not realistic, but I do my best
Yeah.
to get outside every day. I am a very avid gardener. I have flower gardens, herb gardens, a very large vegetable garden. I've had monarch butterfly gardens since 2017. And so I do try to get out and garden every single day. I feel like it's like the antithesis of, my tech life
Yeah.
is to just get outside and get my hands dirty. And there's scientific proof behind that. There's microbes in the dirt that actually make you happy and all these things, right? Like it's fascinating, really. It's also my very inexpensive gym routine. And so it's like it's mental health, it's physical health, it's overall. Yeah.
I love that, and what I love about it is in terms of the gap, especially because you're not just, and I don't mean it's a bad thing to just go for a walk, but you're not just consuming nature and living in it. You're doing something practical when you're there, so you have an opportunity to see progress as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I love that with the garden. And the garden is another experiment in my life. It's like a science experiment. Every year is different. I share my stuff with all my friends. It's fascinating.
Oh,
yeah.
Tremendous. Before I let you go, Kathrine, where can people find out more about you and more about Marketex?
So Marketex.com is our website, and we are Marketex also on YouTube. I do weekly videos that are tech tutorials, as well as my satire series with my evil AI twin.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I was so looking forward to this conversation today. We managed to take it in a whole bunch of different directions, and it's been absolutely tremendous. Such an education. So great to see you again. Thank you very, very much for everything that you're doing, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.